Hi everyone, Latrice here with Sterling Law Offices, and today I'm with Eric Ehrke from the Omani Center, and he is a psychotherapist, speaker, and an author, and he's been in this field for what, 40 years?
43.
43 years. So I've recently got to know Eric. He also helps many families going through divorce, so I thought he'd be an expert for us to talk with. He helps out in collaborative divorce as a coach, and he also works individually with clients. So he has a breadth of knowledge and experience. And so, Eric, I just wanted to first have everyone understand kind of what you do on a day-to-day. So how do you help people individually?
Well, basically, I sit down and listen to what your goals are. Actually, my job is to be your advocate. When I do couples counseling, for example, I'm the advocate of the couple. And so when you're in the process, then, so my client is actually the couple, so I hear both sides of it. And so when there's a divorce, there's a breaking up of that, and then still figure out how to be a good parent and how to still have a goal for your kid, and trying to find out what would be the best plan for the long-term range for each of you and your children.
So sometimes when I'm working with clients who are going through a divorce, there is some concern, especially if they've never been in counseling before, that you're there to assess them or to diagnose them or give them a label. Kind of like this idea of like putting your glasses down and kind of looking over your notes and assessing them.
Head, yeah.
Right. So that's not your goal, because you're really looking at what they come to you as their goal through the process, right?
Right.
Okay.
The whole process is to learn things. When we break our arm, we don't think that it's bad to go to a doctor to figure out how to get care for our arm. So the same thing is about how do I learn about being intimate? How do I learn to deal with grief? And there's things you can learn about that, and there's steps. And so when our parents didn't teach us those things, you can watch on the news or you can watch a movie and think that that's the answer. And that's kind of where we get all that stuff. And so then the practical things about how to even know when you're mad, it could be there's something underneath your anger that's the real thing. And then learning how you can, different ways and different tools you can learn. And then to understand maybe that there's deeper emotions inside that when you finally meet them, you actually feel tremendous relief, actually.
And just to normalize, I've been through a divorce and I used a counselor to kind of process. And I don't recall me talking about goals at my first meeting, but I'm assuming I probably did. So you can help individuals going through the divorce process. And I guess, what type of goals do you typically hear when they're coming in? Is it that an attorney referred them, or they have some particular goal? I mean, how do you help people?
When I was young, I got married very, very young, and I was with my partner for a decade, and I went through a divorce. And when I think of it, I didn't think about my goal. I was trying to survive, actually.
Okay, I agree with that. That's how I felt.
And so I was washed with emotions, and people are torn by anger, feeling abandoned, frightened, and they may not have words for it, but that, and try to create your life again. And so then all those emotions leak out at work, and they leak out at different places, and so then you can be afraid of talking too much or not talking enough, drinking too much, or whatever we all do to manage our emotions. And so finding ways that you can release them and actually feel better. I mean, ultimately, it isn't like magic that someone does onto you. Someone can guide you to help you discover that the answers are within inside yourself. And so when you can access those feelings and release them, you're going to feel better. So it isn't the outside person doing it onto you. It's actually you discovering the resources that already were there.
Okay, that's great. So through the collaborative process, you're very well aware of like the divorce process and the different aspects of it. Can you just kind of define what your job is when you're a coach through the collaborative process?
Sure. Oftentimes with the collaborative process, there's kids involved. And so the job of a coach is to do a parenting plan. So the whole goal is when we're done, we actually produce a parenting plan that both sides of the couples, we have to review it and agree every little step. And so you're talking about who has the kid at Christmas time, educational plans, placement plans in terms of how often which parent sees what, and get really down to brass tacks about every one of those steps. Oftentimes what happens is there's so much anger and pain in there sometimes that making a concrete plan gets in the way. So there's time to be able to hear those emotions, to understand the basis where they come from, but then with a parenting plan, your goal is still back down to the fact that you actually have to make a concrete plan that you can live with. The one thing that has been proven with every psychological study that's ever been done is the more anger that is unresolved and continues even after the divorce, it screws up the kids more. And so having a plan where you can manage that anger, you don't leak it out onto everyone around you, particularly your kids, and then see that good parenting then can really minimize the damage. And the weird part about our culture right now is half of all marriages get divorced. And so there's going to be, your kid's going to have other kids that have gone through the same thing. And so, when you can find a way that there can be respect and there can be honor, because the kid's going to love you both. No matter what, it's going to be that's going to happen. And so the challenge is that how to keep that love alive for each of you, and it's going to be better for you, and in the long run, better for the kids as well too.
And from my experience, what I hear frequently from parents, especially when they're going through the divorce process, is they don't feel like they're being heard by the other spouse, or their viewpoint or wishes aren't being heard. So that it's great to hear that as a coach, parents, you're there to listen and help the parents hear each other.
Yeah, when people are married, the whole process, and I taught a marriage course for a decade, and it was 160 hours, and I've spent a lot of my career teaching actually people getting closer. But when people are breaking away, there's all these habits when you were lovers that you used to doing, and then it's like no one gives you like lessons on how to break it apart, and so you're still expecting things that. At some point, I would be reminding them, I said, this would be true when you were married, but you have to find and get those emotions handled by somebody else right now, and you need to do it over here, and that isn't your partner's job, is to handle that. So it's like coaching you how to, in essence, pull your hearts out in the most gentle way possible, so you don't kill each other or have your kids witness that as well too. And so the challenge is when you can have a higher vision. And within the collaborative process, there's always there's a mission statement at the very top of it, which is, like 10 years from now, what would you want your kids to report? What actually happened with this?
Do you think, or your experience has been that parents can create a mission for their family easier than they even expect? Because I think some people probably think they're further apart in mission than they really are when they initially start working with you.
Well, I mean, it's an enlightened concept, and frequently where you're divorcing is because you're, angry and you've been fighting tooth and nail, and you're suspicious and there's pain there, and so trying to raise your vision, so sort of see, get out of the trench and see a more down the road vision of what's happening here. And some people get stuck with that, and so they can cycle through that, and it, anger, if you, it's like a hot coal. You can pick it up and want to throw it at somebody, but you just burn your hand if you hold anger for too long. That's not my line. It's Buddha's actually.
I like Buddha's line.
But it's true, and so then finding ways that. All emotions move. It's a quick thing to say, but all emotions leave, no matter what. And,
I love that.
And so when we're in the middle of them, they think they're going to last forever. And when we're breaking our love apart, it's really painful. And so when people can just recognize that, yes, it's true that's going on, and I don't have to kick and kill the other person. I can handle my pain. I can recognize that whatever my dreams were, because when people are breaking up, you're also breaking up all the dreams that you had, and all of your fantasies about how things are going to be, and now they're crashing down, and all that's happening at the same time. And there's events that happen that I think are painful, obviously, and so then the challenge is, how do I manage those? And that's where therapy comes into, hopefully have you not spiraled into sort of circles where you get into destructive behavior or destructive parenting, or even to me the other thing is the education thing about how do I do step parenting and how do I do work with my step kid now, because oftentimes those things happen where you may break up your own family, now you begin to date someone that has kids, and there's all this mixes and matches that sometimes are very complicated. And there's ways to do it. There's more successful ways and there's less ways. So therapy to me is education.
Yeah.
It's not punishment. It's not all the negatives that some people think it is.
So it's education about what steps you can do to get your goals.
Right, and it's your own goals.
Right.
If you're an agent of the court, it's a different thing. So a lawyer will help you navigate the legal process, but then there's a process to navigate your emotional process, and those are equally important.
And I think it's imperative that if parents really want to come up with a schedule that's best for the kids, that the parents are able to communicate. Do you help with co-parenting communication, or
Right.
how do you do that, or what's that process like?
Well, it's an art. I'll just more. Every family is different. I think what good counseling is there isn't one size fits all. That every person is individual. Each family is individual. There's different needs with each person. So there's time to understand each of those needs, and then develop a plan that where all the boats rise. And so, the difficulty is that if one parent has been not as involved as the next parent, that there's an opportunity for things to change about that. There can be historical things. The kids can be aligned in different ways, and it always works best when people talk and they can do it where the best for everyone gets involved. And not everybody feels that sometimes, but that is always the best, basically.
Well,
for everyone.
I agree. So the clients that seem to be happiest at the end of the divorce do feel like they can either come up with the plan themselves, because I don't really think that people like being told what the placement schedule is going to be. I think they like coming up with it, and I never knew that they were really working towards a mission of what they want to see their lives like 10 years from then. But the most successful divorces, I feel like people feel like they had a part in creating the plan, not being told by a court. So that's why I think it's always helpful to have parents work with you rather than wait for the court to tell them what to do, because they're typically not satisfied because...
Well, right. When the parents can't figure it out, the court will.
Right.
And so collaborative is saying you get to create your own plan.
Right.
And if you can be collaborative,
right.
Then that plan is yours, and so then a coach is actually just helping you create something that in the long run will help you both, and it's your plan.
I think your occupation is very helpful going through divorce, because I am not skilled in all the things that you do. I am skilled at kind of stepping people through the process of divorce. But I know that you can listen and help them reach their goals in ways that I just can't, because I'm helping you reach the goal of getting to the finality of your divorce, of making sure everything that the law says needs to be divided or taken care of is done. But I really suggest to all my clients that if there's some other things going on, whether it's they need help feeling more empowered, or help with identifying what their next steps are, or getting through the pain of the process, or having their teenage child come work with you, that you're there to do that work and I'm here to help with legal stuff.
Right. And so some people think that once the divorce is over, it's over. It really isn't, because you have to live life, and then there's resentments and there's pain, and there's going to be managing through them, and creating the love that started the family, because the family started with love.
Absolutely. And dreams.
And there's pain and there's abandonment and you're breaking apart, and the whole goal always is, how do I go back to that place? And how do I create it on my own, or each separately, and then still collaborate with my partner, or talk with my partner, my ex-partner, because it's the best interest of the kid, and if people keep on going back to that, as opposed to I'm mad and therefore I'm going to do this because I feel I want to do it because I'm mad, when people can start to think about, well, what's really the long-term best interest of my child, it's really going to mean in the long run that everyone's going to be happier, and your kid is going to be much more well-adjusted.
Well, I know that the clients that I work with do want to be happy themselves and want their kids to be happy. So you are a great resource for all of our clients who are conscious enough to understand that that's where they want to be, even if they're angry or upset at that moment. So what I'm going to do is put all of Eric's information at the end of this video. If you guys have any questions and you want to follow up and schedule a meeting with Eric, I'm going to give you that information. And I appreciate you taking time.
Thank you.
What our clients need is understand what you do, and you explain it much better and more eloquently than I can. And also put a face to the name, because once they understand that, number one, you've been through the process, I've been through the process, and I see how valuable having a counselor, if you want to see a coach, or however you kind of define the role of getting to whatever goal that our clients need. I think it makes it easier for people to approach you and be less scared about your profession in general. So thank you everyone for watching. I will see you next time on Sterling TV. Everyone have a great day.